Welcome to week 5. So this week we're going to talk about confidence intervals and hypothesis testing. We want to actually determine if our population mean falls within a given range because we may not know the actual mean or standard deviation. So we'll use confidence intervals to figure that out. Our first section is an introduction. We'll get an overview of what a confidence interval is, and we'll learn how to find the confidence interval with some formulas and some new terminology. If we estimate the population mean using the sample mean, the central limit theorem lets us do that. We will calculate the standard deviation for the sample when we know the population standard deviation. This is all from a normal distribution. So we will have to remember what we talked about when we covered normal distributions. Section 2 will talk about something called a t-distribution. It's very rare that in the real life we actually know the mean of the entire population. And we probably don't know the population standard deviation either. So in this case, we can use the sample mean and the sample standard deviation. And this is when we use the t-distribution. In section 3, we'll use something called a population proportion. So, in this week, we will investigate 3 methods, normal, t-distribution, and population proportion, to find confidence intervals. Then we'll move on to the next section and we'll talk about hypothesis testing. In statistics, we usually need to draw conclusions about an entire population, just based on a sample. So that's what hypothesis testing does for us. So say you see a commercial on TV and the car dealer says, now we have this new truck and it gets 35 miles a gallon. You have to decide if you can believe this or not. You can do a hypothesis test that we actually set up a null hypothesis and an alternate hypothesis and test, and you can decide if we believe that or not. And then finally, in the last section, we talk about p-values, and you can use p-values to make decisions. We'll learn how to find p-values and what they are, and how they tie into a normal curve. So that wraps up week 5. Again, if you have any questions, make sure you ask questions. You use the discussion board for the Q&A. Also, email me, text, or call. Contact me any way, and make sure that you work on the project at the end of the week. There's also homework. So if you have any questions, contact me, ask the class, and best wishes.